If you are a Gen Xer elder millennial who grew up steeped in the dogma of organized religion, specifically Christianity, and have since realized how bullshit it all is, how much it is driven by patriarchy and colonization, and yet somehow still crave a relationship with some sort of a higher power, you still wonder if there's something to be learned from JC. If you still find yourself thinking WWJD, I've got some information for you. Stick around. So right now, we are moving through winter. If we go way back in history, even to the times predating Jesus Christ, there were pagan traditions that were in place that had human beings follow the cycle of the season. And over time, many of those got absorbed into modern day Christianity. Easter is a great example. So Easter still is dictated by the first day of spring, by the spring equinox. And for pagans, which is really what we use to describe any religion outside of Christianity, and in my case, I'm talking about the religions that predate Christianity, both in Europe and other continents, okay? Before Christianity, the spring equinox was a major pagan celebration. It's all about welcoming the gods and goddesses of fertility. It's about offering fire sacrifices because you're welcoming the sun back. It's a day of perfect balance between the light and the dark. And from that point forward up until the summer solstice, every day will be a little bit longer. There will be a little bit more time to be walking out in the light. Historically, from a Norse tradition, which is where my ancestors come from, is the Nordic traditions, that holiday would be known as Ostara or Iestra. That is just the name for the spring equinox. And the way that it's honored and celebrated looks an awful lot like modern day Easter. There was a lot of rabbits because rabbits procreate quickly. They're a sign of fertility. There was a lot of eggs, also a sign of fertility. You see where that went? The concept of honoring the spring equinox is not new. And to this day, Easter still falls on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the equinox. That's why it's not the same day every year like Christmas. Easter moves around because it's dictated by the moon cycle. Isn't that fascinating? So in the Christian church, at least the one I grew up in, every single spring, we would talk about Lent. We would talk about how we needed to fast, how we needed to sacrifice in order to help ourselves focus more on Jesus and move into the time of year where we would honor and celebrate Jesus' sacrifice, how he gave up his life, died on the cross, took on the weight of the sins of the world so that we could all be free. That's the dogma I grew up with. What I have since learned is that the practice of fasting predates all of that. And there's a reason that it ended up being adopted into the Christian dogma. Lent was added by man. It's not in the Bible, by the way. Lent is not in the Bible. It was added by man about 350 years after Jesus' birth. So long after he was gone. And it's because it was an age-old practice. People would fast in order to purify their bodies and their mind and soul to prepare for the spring equinox so that they would be fully prepared, as clean and detoxified as possible, fully present and able to move forward into the energy of spring, which is all about growth, renewal. It's kind of like the theme of Easter and Ostara and Iestra is all about the phoenix rising from the ashes. And the process of fasting leading up to that is the final stages of the death of the phoenix, so that on Iestra you can rise from the ashes into flames yet again. Isn't that cool? Here's the thing, we can still take advantage of those processes outside of organized religion. We just have to make them up for ourselves, which I personally find really empowering, that I can play with and try different things. And let me be clear here. I believe Jesus Christ was a real man. I believe that he provided a fantastic example, and I have gotten to a place in my journey with the Bible where I'm able to read it and find amazing, amazing lessons in it. I just don't believe in the literal translation of it, and I don't feel comfortable calling myself a Christian. That doesn't mean there's not a lot of juice in it. Okay. So if you are that demographic I described earlier, and you're craving some ritual and ceremony and comfort around your spiritual growth, you're missing that sort of rhythm of the high Sundays and getting dressed up and having the ceremony, you can create it for yourself. You can choose to do a 30-day fast leading up to the spring equinox. You can choose to do a phoenix ceremony on the equinox. The way I look at it is I am honoring the rebirth of the Christ within. I am honoring the rebirth of my higher self going to the next level. The light within me shining even brighter. So I use my fasting time, my time of Lent, as a time to really purge myself of habits, thought patterns, ways of processing things that I know are not serving me. So that when I go into that holiday of honoring the spring equinox and really honoring the light within me being reborn, I feel like I've cleaned house metaphysically. If you want to know more about this, I have so much support for that. This is my jam. I've been on this exploration for myself for 15 plus years, and I learn best through teaching. So if you want more of this, if this is exciting to you and nourishing to you, go to the place where you can learn about all the stuff that I do. There's things there that you can click and tap, and you can see all the different ways I could support you in going even deeper into this conversation. Let me know if you want to know more in the comments though, because I can give you some tips and tricks and ideas for getting started with a fasting practice right now.